featuring the people who make York special.
It's the warmness and it's the humour. The people who make it.
The people who work in the factory are very, very proud of the fact that this is the home of Kit Kat.
And the organisations doing amazing things.
A fair number of women say that Kira has saved their lives, so we know we make a big difference.
From tourism and history to business, charity and the arts.
We are as equally important in the history of this country as London is and as Oxford is.
I love the idea that York becomes the UK's alternative to London.
This is Between These Walls, a podcast for York with Sophie Hudson. This episode of Between These Walls is all about the Snappy Trust. This is a charity that runs activities and play provision for children and young people from the age of 5 up to 25 with wide-ranging disabilities. It supports over 300 children and young people right now. I went along to Snappy to record this episode. It was very quiet when I went because it was a Friday morning, so the children who use the charity normally were actually at school. But I still got a sense of the fun and joy that the place brings. And I met with Anne Stamp, who is the service manager, and Karen Nash, who is a mum to Peter, who's been coming to Snappy for many years. He's 19 now. And Karen's also volunteered for a very long time and done a lot for the charity, so she was really wonderful to speak to. And I just wanted to start by, first of all, pointing you in the direction of the Snappy website. So it's thesnappytrust.org. There's loads of information on there about how you can support the charity, because as you'll hear, it constantly needs help from volunteers and donations and support in lots of different ways. So go and have a look. And I also wanted to just give a quick shout out to an initiative that the Snappy Trust runs called the 100 Club. Now, this is where they aim to get 100 businesses to sign up and pledge to give a minimum of £100 a year. And they need more York businesses to join this. So if you go to the website and have a look at that and see if that's something that you can support if you're a local business. And also go and have a look at their Facebook page, because that's where they post quite a lot of photographs on a regular basis. And you'll see how wonderful it looks. The kids are just constantly happy. All the photos show the children smiling with whatever activity that they're doing. So you get a real sense of the importance and the joy that Snappy brings to so many people. So we started the conversation between the three of us with Anne giving a little bit of an introduction to the charity and explaining what it's all about.
It feels like it's been around for a very, very long time, but Snappy began almost 40 years ago with a group of 4 lovely parents who wanted to bring their children together in the school holidays because they didn't know where else to go. And they got together with one of the local heads of schools and they decided to bring the children into school just in the summer holidays, just to be together. It was very, very difficult because of the abilities of the children. It was very difficult to just play out and do the things that mainstream children can do. So anyway, thus began Snappy, because if you move on 40 years, we now run projects in all of the school holidays, weekends, evenings, and, and other times there's other different activities that go on. The children we have now are almost 300 families on our register, and of those, all of those children will be profoundly disabled. And so we have different projects for different ages and stages that run throughout the year. So, and it's almost a 52-week-a-year project because we're needed 52 weeks a year. Not always, it's we do some support in the home. Some of our staff will go into the home. They'll babysit for families. They will do, they'll just take the children out. They'll do some respite, and in the school holidays we run all the projects, and we run for a full day, which gives the parents a good 6 hours to go off and be with siblings, to just shop or to just have a rest like Karen, just have a rest. And and it's such a well-known charity in York. We're supported really, really well by the local community, the local business community, and everybody knows us.
Yeah, it's sort of a charity synonymous with York.
Yes.
And like I say, that a lot of local businesses support you. We're going to come on to sort of the fundraising and the needs of the charity, of the help from the community in just a few moments. But Karen, I'll just bring you in. So obviously you have a son who has been coming to Snappy for a number of years. Just tell us, if you wouldn't mind, a little bit about him and the sort of the things that he gets involved in here.
Yeah, my son Peter is profoundly disabled. He's got a rare genetic condition, severe learning disabilities, but also some medical conditions, epilepsy and things like that. And really, we had school and nothing else because, there are very few things that he can go to that, for example, his brother, who's mentoring, would be able to join in with. And so, you kind of, there's museums and galleries and parks and things that you can go to, but everything can be quite an effort. And it can also be quite isolating because he doesn't get to spend any time with his peers outside of school. It's not like you can just drop them off at a friend's house because of their care needs are so great. They have to have somebody with them all the time. And so the lovely thing about Snappy, he first started coming when he was 5. We were actually introduced to the charity through school when he first started at school. And it was somewhere to go during the holidays, which was absolutely fantastic, that I could drop him off. I knew that he would be cared for. I knew that the staff and the volunteers who come to Snappy are trained in how to look after special needs children, because you've got supervision and assistance during activities, but you've also got personal care needs and help with feeding and those sorts of things. And, that, as I say, that's not something that you can just drop them off. But also taking part in activities and going out in the community, or, doing music or playing games and just being with children that he recognised from school. But then, as Anne said, that gives me I can drop him off and know that he's safe and happy and enjoying himself for 6 hours. That gives me time to go and do something else, either with my youngest son or my husband, or just shopping or a cup of coffee or whatever, because looking after a special needs child is very much a 24/7 job, and that respite isn't always available anywhere else. And just to have the continuity. Peter absolutely loves coming to Snappy. He recognises the other children, he recognises the venue, he knows the staff and the volunteers who come, and he loves interacting with lots of different people. The fact that he can sing a song with a different volunteer every 20 minutes for 6 hours, that's his best thing ever. I haven't really got the patience to be able to give him that. So it's lovely that he can come. And yeah, he's now 19. So, that's 14 years he's been coming most Saturdays and during the Easter and summer holidays. And it's just kind of the place that he wants to be. That's his thing outside of school, which is lovely. And there are a lot of families like that where they're limited as to what other activities you can do.
Yeah. And how did it feel that first sort of time you brought him here? Obviously, you said that you're his full-time carer.
Yeah,
and having that respite.
To be honest, it's quite scary giving your child over to somebody else, particularly when they've got such great care needs, because there's a high element of trust. You have to, be confident in the people that you're giving your child to, that they will be able to look after them. And that's the lovely thing about Snappy, is that the staff and volunteers get all of the training and they get all of the support and they have the experience. And quite a lot of them are students, but they really do, as well as enjoying being here, they benefit such a lot from it because they're getting the support to be able to give the children what they need. But then that's something that they can have to take with them, isn't it, Anne?
Carry that forward, don't they, into their portfolios for university. And we do tend to keep some of our volunteers, some of the volunteers who come in, we tend to keep them for a very long time. First of all, it's just such a lovely place to be. These children are amazing. And secondly, they get that experience that they won't get in the classroom. So, so they keep coming back, and they've gained so many just life skills, just that empathy, that knowing each each and every disability to take into either their future classroom or their future medical setting or wherever they are going to be. They always come back and say Snappy helped them to get there. So it's been such a part of student life that we now take about 14 placements each and every week who are on placement here from universities. And that's lovely. And I really appreciate the fact that we can show these young people the pointy end, if you like. This is what you're going to be working with in the future. This is what you're going to be doing. Aren't you lucky? That sort of thing. So, yeah, it has many, many things that have grown organically. And we never intended to be this sort of setting where young people gain so much. But it just happens. And for a young person of, say, 16, we take our volunteers from 16 to 0. And for a young person of 16, they will be working alongside. When you're 16, you're not really sure what you want to do. But these youngsters are working alongside nurses, doctors, teachers, social workers, and some of the not so sexy professions. And what they're thinking is, do you know what? I could do that. So we are actually growing our own, if you like, because they have an experience of physiotherapy, speech therapy, all of those things. And these young people are then going into these careers. So that's been a lovely branch, if you like, that grew from Snappy, that I love to see. Yeah. I do like to see that.
Karen, you said that your son is 19 now. What happens next for him? With this being a place for children, a children's centre, what happens next? Where does he go next?
He stays. So we've got a senior group which is our biggest group, if you like. There's about 28 of them that meet every week, and they're the group that do the all the work experiences and the working with Next Door at One, people like that, so that. And they go through the life skills program. So it's not something that Peter can join yet, but hopefully one day. Because some of the fun things they do, last night they had what was it called? A leap year disco. So all of these social skills that we can introduce to a young person like Peter, he doesn't need to know about getting future employment, but he does need to know that dancing's brilliant, that dancing's great fun. And he would have enjoyed that last night because he loves music, he loves to dance. And even if that's the part of Senior Snappy that he takes part in, then that's a good thing, So yeah, you can be here for a long time.
That's wonderful.
But I think that's one of the lovely things about Snappy, though, that, it runs from 5 to 25 years of age. But you will have a huge mix of children and young people in there. And because a lot of them have learning disabilities, the activities are coordinated to meet, I suppose, their developmental needs. And so you can have a mix of age groups because they're all benefiting from doing the same types of activities, and particularly music and dancing and arts and crafts and baking and those sorts of things. It doesn't matter what age you are, that's something that everybody can take part in. And if they need a bit of support, then that's what the staff and volunteers are here for, to help them do that.
So, like you say, Peter loves the music and the dance, which sounds joyous. So you kind of touched on there a little bit about the other types of activities that go on here. Let's go into a little bit more about that. What other things can children do?
Well, we plan and they destroy. We set out a programme every week for the children coming in, and then we have to wait and see how the sort of mood they're in. It could be that, like Peter, they've had a bad night, and Karen's come in and said, "Oh, you had a seizure last night." So we know that Peter needs that extra bit of attention that day and things like that. So we wait until the children come in. But activities on site will be, the usual activities: arts, crafts, drama, music, all of those things. And then we also go out and about. We go out and about a lot, and we even just go for a trip into town. And just to see what it's like down there. They go to all the parks. I think they're known all over Acomb at the moment for visiting the parks because it's just sitting on some grass, and that's nice. And they have picnics, and they'll go bowling. They'll go to the older, as we get into sort of from the play groups into the activity project, into the youth activities, and then into the senior groups. The activities move and change, but some of them are mixed and mingled, like music and dance and that sort of thing. But as they get older, they'll start going to bowling, they'll start going to cinema, they'll start going to the theatre. We introduce all of these things then, because it's very, very difficult sometimes for a parent to take just one child to the cinema because they worry. But we can take 10 children to the cinema, and we're just a group of young people. So it's much, much easier for us to offer these activities. We had a parent last year who she came to pick him up, and she said, "Oh, what have you done today?" Mum said, and I said, "Oh, we've been to the cinema." And she went, "What?" And she said, "He won't go to the cinema. He screams." I said, No, we just went. And that's what happens here, because they see everyone else. So it's peer, they see their peers doing it, and they go off and do it, and it's lovely, and that lovely social interaction you see. One of the volunteers said. They were talking amongst themselves, the volunteers, and I overheard a volunteer saying that I love Snappy because there's no bullying in here. It's like they don't know how to fight with each other. They just get on, and they're very, very supportive. The children from 5 years right through to the older groups are very, very supportive of each other. And it's like that just comes in, and that's lovely. You can actually feel that here. So there's no discipline in it at all. It's brilliant. It's just the children who attend Snappy are what I would describe as pure childhood, because it's childhood without any of the things that we've put into our children from birth. They're told no, they're told to sit up straight, they're told to do this, to do that. We can't do that because they won't do it. Simple as that. So when you are with the Snappy children there, they live very much in the moment, and they make you do the same. You can't do otherwise. And I think that's why people who visit and come along for a session or to try out some volunteering, I think that's what the feeling tone they get is that, oh my goodness, I haven't thought about my mortgage for an hour, or and that's what happens. That's what and that's the gift that they give back. And I wouldn't change it for the world. It's a lovely, lovely thing. I'm very privileged. I really am.
Yeah, it sounds like a very freeing environment for the children.
It is, yes.
And something I picked up on there was the fact that you're very much in the moment with the child. You don't just say, right, today's arts and crafts, and they have to do it like if they were going to school. Yeah. It's very much how the child is when they walk through the door. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
the activities are there, and it's their choice as to whether they access them or not. But if they'd rather go for a walk that day, we'll just go for a walk. And that's what the volunteers coming here enable us to do, because we have that lovely one-to-one. And it means that each child is covered, and more than covered, and if they do go out as a group of 5 or 6, they'll just go out in different little groups. If they do go out like that, there is always one-to-one plus one, just in case we get a runner. And so they have the best time. And the thing that we can do for our children most is to look at them, is to see them. And that's what happens here, because they have that constant attention if they need it. If they need to go somewhere and be quiet, we have various little areas where they can just go and sit quietly. And if they need to be truly on their own, we have some sensory tents that they can go and sit in. So I think we've mostly got it covered. We just need everything, as every charity does. But we're doing our best with what we've got.
Yeah, sounds amazing. Karen, how has that helped Peter, being in this type of environment where he can come and be free, be himself, and sort of be cared for his needs in a sort of holistic way? How has that changed how he is at home? Has it made a difference?
Yeah, it makes a huge difference because, I mean, to some extent, he's bored at home. As Anne was saying, there's a huge difference between a one-to-one with, say, a parent and a child, and then a group where you've maybe got 10 children, but you've got 10 adults, because there's always the opportunity that you can then have 2-to-1 or one person sitting with 2 children for a short period of time. And that just gives you so much more flexibility. I mean, my son's very happy at home, but I still have to do the housework and the cooking and, the shopping and those sorts of things. And if he's with me, then he just has to tag along to that as well. Whereas coming to Snappy means that he can be himself and he can enjoy having that attention, that one-to-one attention of, doing activities, music and drama or whatever. And then mixing with his peers and being with people his age and older and younger, but a similar, they come here and they go, actually, nobody is judging me. I'm just the same as everybody else. And we're all different, but we're all the same. And as Anne says, it's a very honest environment, and it's so rewarding to see them just being themselves and having that opportunity. And some days he'll be really, really bouncy and all he wants to do is run about, and he can. And other days all he wants to do is lie on the sofa and have somebody read a book to him or something. And he can do that as well. And these are things that you don't always have the opportunity to do in the home environment because you're busy with all of the things that families do, and particularly if you've got siblings. I mean, any family where you've got siblings, they're going to be different and want to do different activities, and you're doing after-school clubs and you're doing homework and various things. But if you've got a child with additional needs, then they're massively time-consuming, which then restricts their ability to be themselves because you don't always have that time that you can give them outside of school. And so this is, it's just like freedom in a box, really. They can come and be themselves and have a good time, and the parents and families don't need to worry. It's just a break knowing that they're doing this.
Between These Walls is a podcast just for York. We want to keep it growing and provide more local content that you want to hear. So there are 3 ways you can help. Firstly, I'm on the lookout for local sponsors. If you're from a York business and want to promote on this podcast, drop us an email to btw@soapyproductions.co.uk. That's btw@soapy, SOAPY, productions.co.uk. Secondly, if you know someone who should be featured on Between These Walls, let me know. I'm looking for the people who make York special. That's anyone from an interesting business or with an unusual story, perhaps a charity doing amazing things, or someone working hard under the radar to make York better. Let me know who I need to talk to. Just email btw@soapyproductions.co.uk. And finally, you can help this podcast grow right now by subscribing. Wherever you're listening, just hit the subscribe button and that helps us out massively. Also, follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn if you just search for Between These Walls York. Thank you. Now back to the conversation. Yeah. Let's talk about your involvement in Snappy, because you've been volunteering for the charity for quite a number of years. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, on and off over the years. I think I've always had the attitude that Peter's it comes to Snappy, and Snappy is a good thing for my son. And so as a parent, it's in my interests to keep the charity going, because if they run out of money and volunteers, then there is no Snappy. And what am I going to do? I'm back to square one when we have home and school. So if you've got Peter for the day, is there something that I can do to help raise a bit of money or a bit of awareness about the charity to keep it going for me? And I suppose in a way that's maybe a selfish thing, but I also think, in a way it's a good thing and if I've got the time and the ability to be able to give something back, then I'm the one who's benefiting. And so, I mean, it started off with little things, maybe, making a greetings card or doing a calendar or just a poster, or, we have a raffle in the village or something, and it's like, well, can we give some of the money to Snappy and those types of things? And then I've always been quite keen on recycling in the environment. And so I thought, well, you can't always ask people for money. So is there something that they could give you instead that we could do for fundraising? And so I started this mad thing, Eat the Pie, Save the Foil, and we saved mince pie cases, which then turned into a citywide aluminium recycling collection foil for Snappy, which I did for 10 years, and it nearly killed me because we were then bringing it in by the ton. And I've had to close that down because my health and my son's health were deteriorating, and so it's time to pass the baton on. And so now I'm trying to help with coordinating a fundraising team and getting out in the community and doing bucket collections or handing out flyers, going to some of the village carnivals over the summer. That a lot of events are running on Saturdays. Well, Snappy runs on Saturdays, so it's, well, if I can drop Peter off here, can I go and do a couple of hours promoting the charity? Is my way of giving a little bit of something back, in the hope that they'll still be going in another 10 years if I need them.
Yeah.
But also for all of the other families that are coming, because, I mean, there are, you say that Snappy's been around for nearly 40 years, and it is a well-known charity throughout the city, but there's still a lot of people who've never heard of Snappy, and it's kind of like, well, what is Snappy? And I say, well, it's special needs activities and play provision for York. I mean, that was the acronym. I mean, it's now the Snappy Trust, and a lot of people recognise our fabulous Snappy Croc mascot, who really is
he's a character.
Fantastic out and about in the community. I think people would rather have Snappy Croc go to their events than us, and it's like, well, we can tag along with the bucket and thanks very much, but can we borrow the crocodile? But it's just getting the name out there so that we can keep it going for the children of York. I mean, as Anne says, there's 300 families on the books. That is a lot of children with initial needs who need somewhere to go.
The charity very much relies on volunteers and people like yourself and other people from the community coming to help.
Absolutely, yes. We have, at the moment, we have a core of about 65 volunteers who we can call on for our projects. But this new initiative that Karen's hoping to get really established is to set up a team of volunteers specifically for fundraising events, because, Karen, as she was saying, there's so many fetes and fairs and things going on in York that she can't attend them all, much as I'd love her to be able to attend them all. But if we had a core team of people who could just come in for a few hours or just be interested in the volunteering side of it, that would be amazing. And that's where we're struggling a bit at the minute, is to get that team, because most of our volunteers want to work with the children. So to get people who are just interested in volunteering. And I don't think those people aren't out there. I just think it's very difficult for just one person to get to them all the time. And we don't have anything big and glorious to offer. Just please come and help. So it's very difficult for Karen and the other volunteers involved to get that message across. So we need to get the message out that we need that.
Yeah, so it's not just about the volunteers that come here and actually work with the children and help run the projects. Actually, I mean, there will be a lot of people out there in the community who feel like they're not, they're not qualified to be able to do that. So there are other ways that you can volunteer, and it's about getting out there and putting on a Snappy T-shirt and getting out into the community and holding a bucket as well, isn't it? Yeah. Which doesn't take a lot.
And as Karen said, sometimes it's just an hour. Sometimes it's a whole day. And the other thing is, you can have the best fun ever at a fundraising event. Things like the Dragon Boat race. If you went down there as a cheering team or to collect or whatever, you still have a nice time. And it's not all slogging. And we wouldn't dare ask anyone to stand for a long time with a bucket, because we've all done that. and know how hard that can be. So we Karen tries to get different things going. I mean, at Christmas she went down to Monk's Cross and she was handing out different things to the children who were coming down there. So it's thinking up ways of being able to have the volunteers enjoy it as well as bringing in some money for us.
It's a lot about engaging with the community as well, and letting people know what it is we're doing. And if they're able to give us a donation at the same time, then that's great. But if they just go home and tell somebody else about us, then that's great too. And I think the other thing is that with the volunteers, as I said, the majority of the volunteers who come and work with the children are students. And so they're here for a few years. You know, they might start off at 16 doing Duke of Edinburgh, or it might be that they're at university because they're training in one of the professions, you know, social worker or occupational therapy, or they want to be a nurse or something. And so that's a good experience for them to be with the children. But in terms of the volunteers, particularly with the fundraising side of things, it doesn't matter how old you are. Anybody can stand and hand out a flyer for an hour. You know, whether you're a student or you're middle-aged or you've got a family or you're single or you're retired. And so we're looking for people who might just, maybe even only once or twice a year, might just have a couple of hours. I mean, it doesn't need to be a huge commitment, but we want to try and get all walks of life and all aspects of the community to come and be part of the Snappy family, not just those kind of specific few who think that they want to work with the children, which is great, but, you know, we need the support from everybody. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be a big commitment. We'd just like people who would be interested in getting involved. And as Anne said, you know, it's great fun to go to one of the village carnivals. And those are the types of activities where we could really do with those extra few people just for an hour
Especially
or two.
Especially when you've got a 6'2" crocodile in tow.
Yes, yeah.
I'd like to know who's in the crocodile. Is that a volunteer role that we can sign up to?
I think Snappy Croc's a bit like the Stig, and nobody will ever know who is in the crocodile. But Snappy Croc is just Snappy Croc.
You haven't done Snappy until you've been in the suit.
Yeah. Sign me up. I'm happy to do that. So in terms of fundraising, Anne, there's a lot that businesses can do, that people in the community can do in terms of just donating money. But you have always sort of tried different things to try and get more businesses and people involved in sort of fundraising. Can you tell us a little bit more?
Certainly in the current climate, you've got to be innovative. You really do. And we do a lot of fundraising events ourselves. And one of our initiatives, which I still feel is brilliant, is our Club 100. And that is where we ask 100 businesses in York to donate £100 every year. And that brings in enough to keep one of our projects absolutely solidly here. And as a charity, that means an awful lot to us, because to have that security and knowing that that project will be here in 6 months' time, in a year's time, is unheard of, really, in as I said, in the current climate. So the Club 100, I'm desperately trying to reignite from a few years ago. So at the moment we have, I think we've got about 23 on our Club 100 register, and we're moving in to try and get some more. The businesses who do join will get to we advertise them on our website. We give out all the their website details, who they are, what they're doing, and also if they've got anything going on in their business, to let us know, and we'll promote it through our social media. And that's probably about all we can offer, or was all we could offer. And until more recently, where I talked to we've recently been adopted by the Mercury Hotel. And what they've done is they've set up a Club 100 evening. And we thought this would be a good event to bring all these people, all these businesses together. Because if you own a business in York, you want to network. And these people can come to this event and network. And it's on the 11th of April at the Mercury Hotel. It's a free event. And there will be sort of nibbles and some Prosecco, I think. And we're hoping that we can get the message across to certainly say thank you to the Club 100 people who will be there, but also to the people who are maybe thinking about it, and to give a bit more information, as we did today, to give a bit more information on what they're spending their money on. And, you know, I think if people knew what went on here and knew what was happening all the time, we would have a lot more support. So, yeah. And everything else is either, you know, we apply for grants or we fundraise. We fundraise a lot in the local area because York is brilliant. It's such a close community for a city. It's quite a close community, and people know us. They know us. They know our reputation. They know what we do here, and of course they want to support that. And we try not to abuse that with the local business community and the local community itself. So we try and sort of and not be greedy, as it were. So, which is why the Club 100 would be brilliant. But everybody needs to go and do a fair, and everybody needs to go and stand on a corner and shake a bucket, because it just brings it home what that does for a charity for all of these children, and you know, all the volunteers and all the staff that are here. So it's we're going to keep on. Next year we're 40 years old on the 1st of June next year, and I couldn't be happier, because to reach 40 in the current climate is nothing short of amazing for a charity. So we're hoping, again, with support from our Club 100 and the local community, to have a big celebration.
40 years is it? So it's a long time.
Yes. I've been here 29 of those years.
I was going to ask a little bit about your background.
Yes.
So you've been here 29 years.
29 years. I came here from teaching and thought, I don't want to work with children anymore. I'll just go and do something else. And applied to go on a course. And as I was waiting to go on the course, I came here to volunteer. And that was 29 years ago. I'm still here.
And the rest is history.
And the rest is history, yeah. So I just love it. It's just the best place to be. So I have been very, very lucky. And when you come here as a staff member or a volunteer or a trustee, you know, you get as much back as you put in. And, you know, these children, as I said earlier, I was privileged. I am privileged to be here. I am privileged to have known so many children in those 29 years that I just feel like I've been blessed with that. And the diverse range of abilities within that group it's never dull. Yeah, it's never dull.
Yeah, I can tell by the smile on your face and the glint in your eye how much you love it here.
I do, yes. Yeah. So I want to, you know, I want to have a legacy of Snappy being in good hands, in being solid in York. So that's my next venture for the next few years, is to make sure we're safe. Make sure it's solid.
Yeah, absolutely. So next year, 2025, is the 40th anniversary.
It is.
So I'm assuming there's going to be lots in the pipeline. And
I'm hoping so. The young people, we've applied for some funding for a music project, and we're working with upfitters in York to produce a show that the young people will perform in a theatre in York, in one of the theatres or one of the clubs in York. But we're hoping to take them through a whole music project for the next year, so that next year they can perform this. So they're going to write a song about Snappy, and so we're hoping they'll perform that as well. So it's lots of different little things in the planning, but and cake,
yeah,
always cake. Yes,
gotta be cake. You mentioned a bit about you were applying for funding for that project.
Yes.
Does Snappy get any regular form of funding, like statutory funding?
No. We don't receive statutory funding. We we used to have a service level agreement with the local authority, but that's everybody's poor, and so our funding comes from the fundraising that we do from here. with the small team of fundraisers that we have, and it's constant. It's 24 hours a day, and we apply for these grants, and sometimes we get very lucky. But no, we don't have any long-standing. We can get 3-year funding, and that's probably the longest we can look ahead, really.
All the more important for volunteers and fundraisers.
Absolutely, yes.
To be involved.
Yes.